Welcome back to HudRod Automotive. It's the first day of winter, it's getting colder, but here's another review on my own S500. If you do like this video, please like and subscribe. Let's get into it. So this is my S500 from 1999, the W220 chassis. And the S500 is a 5-litre V8. Let's take a look at it. Underneath the bonnet, we have a 5-litre V8. It makes 302 horsepower, 460 newton meters of torque. So definitely plenty of grunt there from this velvety smooth machine. One thing you do have to take into account when you do buy a 5-litre V8 Mercedes, it's got 16 spark plugs, 2 air filters, and all the rest. So servicing it can be a little bit expensive, but what an engine to own, what an engine to have. So velvety smooth and full of grunt for your day-to-day. So a great big thing about an S-Class alongside the engine is that ride comfort. And that ride comfort comes from big air suspension all around and a lovely thick tyre, 45 sidewall, along with an 18-inch alloy, and it really makes this car so comfortable to use on the road. The styling on this car, I wouldn't call it beautiful, but it definitely has its own form, and I think it's perfect for a German sedan. It doesn't look out of place anywhere you go, and it's nice and simple. It works perfectly. I don't think you can get any better than that. So, possibly the best bit of the S-Class is the technology, but also the scariest bit for many. In this car, well, you got everything. I mean, you've even got a self-adjusting mirror for when you've got different memories, which I haven't seen in many other cars. Obviously, automatic climate. There is nav there, but you're never going to use it because it's from 2000. Steering wheel adjustment, heated and cooled seats, heated and cooled, sunroof, you name it. Engine purrs to life. Airmatic suspension, probably another scary part about this car. Hasn't failed us yet, but obviously it goes up and down. But I mean, it's got everything. You know, cruise control, you name it, it's got it. And this is back in 2000, it had this. And if you tried some of the newer S-Classes, the 2006 ones, they are always leading technology. I think some of the newer ones have night vision cameras and all sorts, but if you're looking for a daily driver, these things are so luxurious. Now pulling away in the old S-Class, which is what you want to be doing most of the time, is driving this car, because it is great to drive. All this technology, you've got to bear in mind, you're getting it at 1,500 quid sometimes. I mean, this one's a little bit more because it's got very low mileage, but £2,000, you've got everything you're ever going to need on the road. And like with Cameron's 5 Series, it's just such good value for money. You can, for £2,000, you can get all of this. And yes, some things may go wrong, but there are loads of used parts out there, and if you've got the good mechanic, shouldn't be too much to worry about. They are overall quite a reliable car, having the big 500 in there. Speaking of reliability, what have I had to fork out while owning this car? Well, I'll be lying if it said it didn't have any issues. Since I've owned this car, we've had a few. Most prominently of recent is the vacuum pump, which controls the central locking and the soft closed doors. Quite common to fail on these. It's a £150 part that you have to replace, which I'm still yet to get around. We're trying to clean up and fix the old one. As well as that, the window wash has leaked. So it's got a leak in the pipe, so all the headlight washers, so that means I had no window wash for a little bit. and the screen is cracked because my dad dropped the metal wiper on top of it. But as far as actual things that have gone wrong, well, nothing. The 500 V8 is just soldiered on. I think I've done one service on it because I haven't done that many miles on it, and she's taken everything like a champ. We did have a MAF problem, a mass airflow sensor, but that happens to every car, so that needs to be replaced. Being a Bosch unit, a little bit pricey, but really there's not much to be scared about. These actual engines and the running gear of these cars are very, very reliable. Yes, a high mileage one with the air suspension may be a little bit scary, but this one being with 60,000 miles, there's no cracks in the top of the air suspension, there's no problems with the air suspension whatsoever, and my god, it's got some pace to it.
Alright, so just sitting in the back here getting some shots, but it is just so comfy, having the time of my life here. But this is really what the car is sort of made for, actually, is sometimes to be in the back as well, to carry, well, almost like a chauffeur or a limo. But yeah, so comfy, got plenty of leg room. You know, I'm not a short guy. But yeah, very comfy. And you can see they designed it not just for the front, but also for the guys in the back here.
Now there's a point everyone brings up every time you bring a V8 or a 5 litre or anything that's got a big capacity, or 3 litre BMWs because they just burn fuel, on how bad the fuel consumption is. So on this car, being completely honest, the best fuel consumption I've ever got is about 30, trying really hard. So not great. For what it is, I don't think too bad. On average, depending on where you're driving, I think we get about 23 to the gallon. Now that's not good. However, this car, when it was new, was around 80 grand. And then you got options and you got all these other things. An 80 grand car that you can buy on the used market for 2. I mean, when else are you going to buy a 5 litre V8 Merc? And the 5 litres and the 6 litres are the proper Mercs. What Merc do best? Really great looking, elegant, comfortable, and just luxurious, stout cars. If you do buy one of these things, or you try one of these things, you'll realise straight away with the steering, the way the thing feels, the way the engine pulls, everything just feels really quality. It feels really, really well put together. Yes, there could be some things that could go wrong, but what a car to own for the money. You know, how much more interesting is this than owning something else that's, yeah, it'll get you around, but it might not be quite as fun, especially if you're not too bothered about the fuel consumption, which it does add up. If you're going to be doing 20,000 miles a year, don't buy a 5 litre Merc, because it's going to kill you. But if you're not doing too many miles and you're just having the odd weekend drive or the weekend away, or you're just driving around town or pottering about, why not? It's so luxurious every time you get into the car, and it's not going to tire you out at all. So that's why I bought this car, is because I got a bit bored of driving, so I wanted something that just numbed that down for me, and this does that perfectly. Very good benefit to buying an 80 grand Merc is that you get 80 grand Merc cars. So double glazed windows, very, very quiet in here. We're going down a B road at 50 miles an hour and you can't hear much at all. And the ride comfort from the air suspension is amazing. You can stiffen it up, but why would you need to do that? Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say everything is plain sailing when you buy yourself a used 80 grand Merc, but I think it's worth doing for the fun. But do bear in mind, if you buy an 80 grand Merc, you can have 80 grand Merc problems. For example, a service. This car takes, I believe, around 7 litres of oil. It's got 16 spark plugs. The list goes on. Two air filters. Everything will add up owning and driving one of these cars long term. But considering the depreciation on these cars, even if you were to get a newer one that may be a little bit more reliable, a little bit more up to date, a 2010 S-Class, for example, is going to have some of the stuff that's just trickled down to the lower cars. These cars are full spec. They've got everything that you're ever going to need in a car, and it is definitely something to own one day, just to try it out, because it is so fun and it is nice to know what the high life feels like, or what the high life felt like back in 2000. To summarize, guys, I really enjoyed my ownership of this car, and I really implore everyone to try out something that's a little bit outside the box. Yes, it can be expensive, but what a car to own, an 80 grand Merc. Anyway, if you like this video, please like, please subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.